Hello friends, my name is Sonia. This is Sonia with an I, and today we're doing an October reading wrap up. I hope that you all had a wonderful reading month in October. I feel like that I certainly did. I had a very good variety of reading, but I also really kept in the mood and with the theme of October. So I felt very successful in my reading in October, and I'll share a few of those books with you. So the first book that I read, I actually finished in September, but I forgot to add it to my September reads, so I'm going to share it with you now. It's called This Hill, This Valley. It's by Hal Boland, and this is actually a nonfiction memoir. I don't talk about nonfiction much because I really don't read a lot of nonfiction. But my gal, Gladys Tabor, who I've been reading on one book for all year because it's seasonal, and she's someone that I just discovered, and I think she's like the quintessential cottagecore queen. I just love her. Mentioned this book in the memoir of hers that I'm reading, and I thought, I want to see if it's the same. So this book was written in 1957, and it is his account of a cycle of a year in hill country in northwestern Connecticut. And Gladys Tabor also lives in Connecticut and talks about her farm life in Connecticut. So it was a very interesting read. I will say he doesn't have quite the wit and charm of Gladys Tabor. She is so charming and so delightful and so funny. And I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Hal Boland, the author of this, Borland, sorry, I said that incorrectly. Hal Borland and his wife Barbara are good friends with Gladys Tabor. So Gladys talks about hanging out with the Borlands and then reading this book. And I just thought it was so neat to be able to find this, her friend that I'm reading about, because I feel like I've been really involved in her life. Now, I will say this is a very slice of life. It's very slow. There are humorous parts of it. The only thing I didn't love about this was it talks about shooting pesky animals. I realize I grew up on a farm. I grew up in a farm country. I grew up around that sort of thing. I realize that nature sometimes has to be dealt with. I don't know. I don't want to hear about it. Shooting little bunnies just doesn't do it for me. But also, the dogs that are in this book are not treated like pets. They're treated more like work animals, I guess, which, I don't know how I feel about that, but I grew up in a rural area. I understand that there's hunting dogs and that they have a purpose. I get all that. I don't know. I didn't find it as cozy as Gladys Tabor's, because Gladys Tabor raises Cocker Spaniels and she talks about them like they're her children. And I love that. So I really enjoyed it. It's a great slice of mid-century American life. And I gave it 4 stars. If you like slice of life, especially in that time period, I think that you would really enjoy Hal Borland. He has other books too that I might check out, because there were parts in it that made me chuckle, and I did like his descriptive style. So that was the first book. The next one that I actually started and finished in October is Homicide at the Haunted House. This is part of the Nightmare Arizona series. It is written by Beth Dogner. I loved this. I really, really love this. It reminds me, take True Blood, take Sookie Stackhouse series, and make it a little cozier, make it a little cleaner, and not so romancy, and here you have Nightmare Arizona. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was so fun. It was a fast read. I listened to it actually on Audible, and the narrator did a fantastic job. It's campy, it's kind of kooky, it had the Halloween vibe that I was totally craving, and I just liked it. The MC is down on her luck, and her car breaks down in Nightmare, Arizona, and she's going to get this job at this haunted house so she can get her car paid for, so she can get out of Dodge and get to San Francisco. And I love the Universal Studios feel of this. It's the MC is very likable, very relatable. The supporting characters are all, it's a community. It's a little like supernatural kind of community. And she doesn't realize they're supernatural. So the discovery of some of that, like finding out who is this and who is that. And there's a large variety of supernatural beings. If you're not a big fan of paranormal, this one may not be for you. But I thought it was campy, kooky, and I loved it. So I gave it 4 stars. I loved it so much that I went on to the second one and finished it in October. So the next book that I read from there is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. I gave this treasure 5 stars. I loved this. I drug my feet reading this because I was so afraid that it was going to be way too romantic-y. And I'm not a fan of that. I don't gravitate towards that. I don't really want to read that. And when I saw it, when my mother gave it to me for my birthday, so thanks, Mom. That was a great choice, great pick. So I started it and I buddy read it with my friend Fiona. And I kind of drug my feet a little bit. I felt kind of bad because Fiona was getting, she wasn't getting impatient with me, but she was reading at a better pace than I was, at a better clip. But once I actually got into it, I absolutely loved it. It was so cute. It's very cottagecore sold, and it has a building of community that I absolutely loved. I also was a little bit nervous because this book has been so hyped up. So many people have said they've loved it, but I'm on the train. I'm on the train. This book is way up there with Legends and Lattes for me, and that is saying something. Like, I finished it and wanted to go back to that town and that community. It's very cozy, it's very descriptive, it's imaginative, it's whimsical, it's creative, it's sweet. It had a romance that I was rooting for, no pun intended, because Kaz is her best friend, and he is a sentient spider plant. Loved it. I loved it so much. I loved it. Keela is the main character. She's a librarian. She's very much an introvert. She's never had to deal with people. She's been locked in this library, and she finds herself having to leave her library, go back to her home island, and deal with the community. It's low stakes, but there is conflict, and just so descriptive and beautiful. And I just couldn't get, I mean, she makes jam and talks about making jam. Yes, please. I'm there. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I hope that this author writes another one because I want to read it in the same community and the same everything. I want to be a part of this. It was so cute. I loved it. I'm so glad I read it. Thank you, Fiona, for being such a darling and wonderful buddy reader. I enjoyed reading this with her so much. And if you do not know Fiona, Fiona's channel is Reads and Eats. Go check her out. She is a treasure. The next one I read was a Goosebumps book. I read Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns, Goosebumps number 48 by R.L. Stine. I did this because my friend Storm at Storm Reads, she does Halloween in October, and I like to support my friends. I didn't read a lot of Halloween, but I picked this up. It was a fast read. I think I read it in a little over an hour. And I will say I was a little bit, I gave it 2 stars. I can see why kids like it. It's silly, but it's kind of mean. I thought it was mean. It was written in the 90s, and, you know, it kind of, that shows in some of the bullying that's going on, but it really was more of a young lady whose dad calls her elf, and she tells her dad all the time she hates it, but her dad keeps doing it. Very bullying behavior, which I can think of times in my life that happened too. She hates it. There's these 2 friends. They're not friends, but they, you know, frenemies. And she just does through the whole book is planning this big revenge plot. And I just didn't care for it. Also, the fat shaming in this book. Fat people are disappearing, and that's okay because fat people are, you know, who wants them on the earth? Anyway, it was a basically big revenge book. Now, this was my first Goosebumps book, and I was not impressed. I just thought it was so mean. I did finish it. I mean, it was an hour and a half. I did finish it, but I didn't love it. One thing I did like that made me smile is they mentioned Chuckles candy. And if you know, you know. If you're in my age group, you probably remember Chuckles candy. So, yeah, 2 stars for me. Not a winner chicken dinner, but the next one is a treasure and probably going to be a book that I read every single year. It's called Pumpkinheads. It's by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. That's the illustrator. And also Sarah Stern, who is a contributor. In Pumpkinheads, this is a story of 2 friends who work at a pumpkin patch together, and they only work in the fall season. And it's extremely atmospheric. There's this it's called Dinox, and it is basically an amusement park pumpkin patch. They have the apple cider hut, and like I'm getting so excited I can't hardly think of the caramel corn, like all these different places to eat. And it was so cute. The main character is Deja and Josiah. And they work together in high school. They're in high school. They work together this adorable pumpkin patch. And this is their last year. And it's the last night that they work together. And they form this friendship, but they only see each other excuse me, during this time. And the illustrations in this, first of all, are top notch. You want to talk about autumn, atmosphere, beautiful, cozy, totally there. So Josiah and Deja work at the succotash hut. And as I said, it's the last night, and Josiah has a crush on the fudge shop girl. The name that Deja has for the fudge shop girl absolutely cracks me up. She calls her Fudge Judy. Like, she has a new name for her every time she talks about her, but Fudge Judy was the one that made me laugh out loud. Deja continually encourages him to talk to her, and they go on this adventure to get to the fudge shop from where they are so he can talk to her. And there's all these little hicks and giddy-ups and different things that happen throughout the story. And all Deja wants to do is eat at every little hut, which, girl, I feel you, because I would have done the same thing. So I laughed and smiled through the whole book. It just made me so warm, and it was just so cute, and it was silly and predictable, but it was cozy and comfortable, and I absolutely loved it. When I was in high school, we used to do the Haunted Barn, and Pep Club sponsored it. And some of my absolute very best memories of high school was us working at the Haunted Barn, and some of the friendships that I made and people that I did things with and just got to know, I would have never gotten to know unless I worked at the Haunted Barn with them. And we did so many fun things. And I remember that like it was yesterday. Like, I can still like smell the barn. I can still feel the cool air. I can still just, the happiness that brought me back. That's what books are supposed to do. Those feelings that we have of pure joy, this book brought for me, and I loved it so much. I will read this again and again. Just their little journey together to meet the fudge shop girl, and then what happens after that. It's just, it was so endearing. It was so cute. I love the representation in it as well. It just, 5 huge stars. Loved it, loved it. The next book I read was The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Rip Van Winkle by Washington Irving. And this is the copy that I read. This is the copy I own. I love the artwork on this. It's a classic for a reason. This, to me, is my Christmas Carol. You know, at Christmas time, you read the Christmas Carol, you watch all the Christmas carols. At Halloween, Legend of Sleepy Hollow is my jam. I reread this. I've reread this every year. I used to read it to my students. This is the copy I used to use. I watched the Bing Crosby Disney Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I watched the Johnny Depp Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I'm actually doing that tonight with my Dan. I love this. Of course, this is 5 stars. It's a classic, and it's a classic for a reason. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I dream of going to Terrytown someday. Great story. Wonderful. Absolute home run. The next that I read was Drowning at the Diner, part of the Nightmare Arizona #2 by Beth Dolgner. And I gave this one 4 stars. Now, I won't get too much into it because I don't want it to be too spoilery, but it's the down on luck main character. She's working at that haunted house. The haunted house creatures are actually the creatures they portray. It's not costuming and makeup. And there is a mix-up, there's some murder, there's an investigation, it's a cozy mystery, but it is very paranormal. It has all the universal monster creatures. I just loved it. It was a fun little story. I gave it 4 stars. I listened to it on Audible, and the narrator was fantastic. It was great. The next book that I read was The Secret of Phantom Lake. This is by William Arden, and it is part of the Alfred Hitchcock's 3 Investigators series. This was delightful. I had never heard of this before, and I showed this in a haul, and I had a few people say, "Hey, I've read that before. I really enjoyed that." And I did too. I gave this 4 stars. It was really great. Now, I will say something that, I don't know, made me go, huh? Was that the main character's name is Jupiter Jones, which I think that's adorable. To me, that sounds like a drag queen name, but I love that. I mean, it's adorable. But Jupiter Jones is kind of the leader of this little group. It's a group of 3, very hardy boys kind of feeling. And they continually talk about how big he is. They call him the portly boy, the stout boy, the overweight boy. And I was like, I get it, he's bigger. Why can't we describe him as the boy with leadership skills, or the smart boy, or just Jupiter? Just call him Jupiter. I don't understand why every single description of him is something about his size. That was my only complaint. I did give this 4 stars. It dealt with hidden pirate treasure. I love pirate treasure things. I love pirate stuff. It was interesting. It kept me engaged. The boys are a good team. They're encouraging. They're smart. I really liked it. Even though it was written in the mid-70s, it is a product of its time, but it gave me like Scooby-Doo meets Hardy Boys, and I was there for it. 4 stars. I may read some more in this little series if I can find them, and they're available to me. I thought it was cute. The next book I read was Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. This is part of the Hercule Poirot number 41. And I did watch the movie that was based on this, and I know it was loosely based, and I really enjoyed it. This book I gave 3 stars to. I listened to it. It kept me interested. It kept me engaged. But I got confused in some places. Like, there was a lot going on. I didn't quite understand something they talked about. It made me laugh a little bit because this book is written I believe it was written in the 1960s. And people are complaining about how bad children are and how people don't parent their kids. And I was like, people are still complaining about this. I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny. I'm always surprised at how modern these books are. And I don't know why I am, but I always am. I love Hercule Poirot and his mustache. I love how his brain works. I enjoyed this mystery, but I wasn't raving about it. I don't think this is her best. The other Hercule Poirot I read was The Affair of Styles, number 1, and I loved it. So I will continue reading some more Aggie and some more Hercule Poirot, but I don't know. This one, I didn't think it was stellar. It was a good atmospheric Halloween kind of read. The next on my list is Death of a Kitchen Diva by Lee Hollis. I am meeting Lee Hollis this next Friday, and I am really looking forward to it. And I had never read a Lee Hollis book, so I was like, okay, well, I need to read this. So I picked Death of a Kitchen Diva. It was on Audible. I listened to it. This was a fun little romp. I really enjoyed it. The style, the way it is written, Haley Powell is the I didn't tell you the series name, did I? Haley Powell Food and Cocktails Mystery. This is number 1 of Death of a Kitchen Diva is the name of it, by Lee Hollis. Make sure I cover the basics before I start talking about the book. Anyway, it was fun. I really enjoyed the style of the articles. Haley is a food writer in a newspaper, or she's a columnist. And many of the chapters, it would have a chapter and then it would have her recipe and then her comment of her day and all of that kind of just tailed in. I liked it. I thought that was really cute. Haley is a mom of two. She's a newspaper reporter, hardworking newspaper columnist, and she has a really harsh rivalry with another columnist. And the mystery and the humor of this book really worked for me. The humor is funny. I believe that the Lee Hollis is a combination of a brother-sister, and I think that the brother, I think his name is Rick, his first name is Rick, used to be, my friend Tiffany told me he used to be a writer for Golden Girls. I can tell because there is a line from the Golden Girls that is in this, and I'm as jumpy as a virgin at a prison rodeo is from the pilot episode of Golden Girls, and I heard that and I started laughing. I was like, I wonder if he wrote that, like if that was one of his lines. But in this story, the humor is very, like I said, I really enjoy it. I love her friends. I love her friends come to the rescue and they help her out and they're the heroes. This is not, to me, the snuggle up with your granny's Afghan, drink some hot cocoa kind of cozy, but it is cozy as far as, there's no like gross, like, any of that in it as far as like when the murder happens and stuff. There is some cursing if you're not a fan, but I enjoyed this and I'm kind of looking forward to reading the next one. I know this is a really long running series and I know there are a lot of people who really love it. So I also will say the little Shih Tzu, I kind of love him because my god dog is a sassy little Shih Tzu too. So I just thought it was cute. And yeah, 4 stars. I'm off to read the next one. The next book I read after this was Murder, She Wrote's Trick or Treachery, number 14 in the Murder, She Wrote series. This is by our gal, Jessica Fletcher, and Donald Bain. And in this installment, first of all, let me tell you, I love the Murder, She Wrote series, and I love it because I feel like I'm sitting in an episode of Murder, She Wrote, but I'm doing it in my own time, and I don't have to rush through. It's not an hour episode and it's over. Like, I can make it, extend it, and make it as long as it is, as I want it, and I love that about this series. And, I love me some Jessica Fletcher. I one of these days I want to be Jessica Fletcher without the bodies. I want to do the travel and live in the cozy town and all of that, but I don't want the dead bodies. Jessica Fletcher says, October is my favorite month of year in the town that I love so much. We have spectacular fall foliage. The sun shines brightly, but there's an embracing chill in the air that sends me into a frenzy of activity. If I had my way, October would last 6 months. Yes, queen. Yes, queen. I am there with you, Jessica Fletcher. Agreed, agreed, agreed. This installment of Trick or Treachery was very much like an episode of Murder, She Wrote. You get to go back to Cabot Cove. You get to hang out with the community. There is a woman in the community that everybody thinks is mysterious. And since it's Halloween, there's a lot of talk of the ghost of Cabot Cove. And the story ties in with the ghost of Cabot Cove, the mysterious woman, and then also there is someone who can see the dead and predict the future kind of sort of person, and they have seances, and she thinks he's pretty much a snake oil salesman, but one of her friends is really into it because she gets to talk to her dead husband, and it just all kinds, just some madcap craziness that happens in Cabot Cove when Jessica's in town. So I really did also enjoy kind of the little touch of supernatural in it. There was a little bit of a mystery at the end. It didn't just say this is it and that's the end. There was like a little bit of that. Did they not? It was very comfy. It was very cozy. It was very nostalgic. They talked about the phone lines and how the phone lines were down. And it was, for a minute, I forgot that people had cell phones. You know what I mean? It was great. It was very Jessica Fletcher. I gave this one 4 stars. And I just found out today that the Thanksgiving one is in at my library. So I will be picking that up today because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this so much. And the last read of October that I had was a cozy mystery, The Secret Staircase Mystery. This is number 1, Underlock and Skeleton Key by Gigi Pandian. I'm also meeting Gigi Pandian next Friday at Cozy Con in St. Louis, Missouri. And I thought I need to read one of her books. Now I need to get my book journal finished so I could have them sign it. I'm so far behind in my book journal. Yes, I don't want to talk about it. And this book, I really enjoyed this. I gave this 4.5 stars. And I really love the mysterious elements of this book. The main character's name is Tempest Raj, and she is a Vegas magician who has a catastrophe happen, heads back home to her childhood home in California to comfort herself with her grandfather's Indian home-cooked meals. I loved the diversity in this, by the way. I have many students who are from India, so hearing about the Indian foods and the cultural things, loved it, loved it, loved it. Also, one of her family members is from Scotland, and that's my people. So it was so wonderful to hear all of that. But her father's company is called the Secret Staircase Construction. It specializes bringing the magic of childhood in transforming clients' homes with sliding bookcases, intricate locks, backyard tree houses, and hidden reading nooks. How cool is that? I have a secret bookcase. So I thought that was cool. I was like, maybe he did that. Well, Tempest goes to visit her father and to look at the newest project, and there ends up her former stage double's body is found in a wall. And then there's an investigation. I really enjoyed this. Like I said, I gave it 4.5 stars. I love the mysterious elements of it. I love the secret staircase thing, though I'm sitting there thinking, like, how many people need a secret, but I have a secret bookcase, so, maybe, I don't know. I did love the investigation. I like Tempest as a main character. I like her friendships. I like her family. I really liked her family. There were a lot of characters in this one, and that's why it didn't get 5 stars for me, is I got kind of lost with all of the characters. And to me, if you have too many characters in a book, it gets kind of cumbersome trying to keep up with who is that and who is this and But like I said, I gave it 4.5 stars. I really did enjoy it. I plan to read the next one. And that was my month of October. Now on to November. I was very thrilled with this month. I got a lot of books out of my book basket, read, not as many as I would have liked, but I just have to keep moving forward, I guess. But I really read some treasures. I mean, a lot of 5-star reads, and nothing really that I just thought was, extremely horrible. I didn't do any DNFing this month, which was great. And I got to read a lot of, I read nonfiction. I did read several cozies, but, reading a couple of middle grades, the graphic novel, a classic, and of course, Jessica. How could I not have a great month? So how was your reading month in October? Did you enjoy reading? Did you read all the spooky books? Did you totally get into your mood, or did you stick with a strict TBR? Let's talk about that in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. You make this world a better place just by being a part of it. I appreciate you. I thank you. And until next time, happy reading. Goodbye now.